Hi, everybody. Welcome to my first interview episode of this podcast. And here I have my beloved boss, John Moug. Could you take a second and introduce yourself to everybody watching?
It's funny that you say boss
I
because
know.
I don't consider myself like anybody's boss in this world because I have a boss. So yeah, I'm John Moog. I am a dad. I also host a morning radio show on B96 here in Chicago called Moog and Carla Mornings.
Yeah, I love the work that you're doing, and I'm excited to have this conversation around fatherhood. For those who don't know, I get to have the delight of spending my days with John's little almost 2 year old daughter, Dahlia. It is literally the best job in the world. So, like you said, it is kind of funny to call you my boss because at this point, I feel like you're just an extension of family.
Right, but that feels so weird. We had to do like tax paperwork, and it was like your employee, and I'm like, oh, that's odd.
Yeah.
But you've been around, really since Dahlia. I think she was 4 months old when you started with us,
Yeah.
and so you have been part of her life as far as she can remember for sure. And a part of our lives essentially since we got to Chicago. We moved to Chicago in late 2023, and our lives changed like pretty much immediately after we got here in December. Stacy had Dahlia in January, and it was like this whole new adventure started all at once. So it was like, not only are you moving and starting a new job, but you've got a child now. And then thankfully I think Stacy's the one who found you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't entirely remember how that whole thing came about, but then you started with us that April, and now it's been almost 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy how time flies. It's crazy that we were able to have this relationship where I get to be a part of Dahlia's life, and within my nanny job, I get to bring Ezra here. So it's like really illuminating to get to see that side of each other.
I,
And
if you don't mind me, cutting in, I will say that like, other than me and Stacy, I think you were the person that Dahlia is closest to.
yeah,
We don't have family anywhere near here. My family is split between Florida and Las Vegas, and then Stacy's family is in Virginia, and her brother is on the West Coast, and so you're it.
yeah, and I
you
think
know,
that's like why we clicked so well at the
yeah,
beginning because I relate to that wholeheartedly. Like my family is all in Michigan,
right.
so we really are here, like millennial Gen Z parents, locking it down, trying to be that support system that isn't otherwise there. And that's kind of why we wanted to have this conversation today to learn more about your experiences as a millennial dad,
Sure, sure.
navigating a landscape that is pretty, unknown for you. So
Yeah, absolutely
yeah.
unknown.
So I have a few questions in
Sure.
here, and I'd love to learn a little bit more about how your relationship with Dahlia has grown over these last almost 2 years.
It's so funny. If I could go back to the beginning when Stacy got pregnant, this is something that we wanted for a long time. So she was very much like something that we'd planned for and hoped for, and it took a while. And when Stacy found out she was pregnant, um, so I do a morning radio show, so I have to work early in the morning, and I remember telling her, she goes, there's a chance that I might, but she had taken several pregnancy tests, and I said, do me a favor, don't get up in the middle of the night and check to see if you're pregnant, and don't do it while I'm at work because I don't know how I can handle that information.
And just having to wait.
And so we go to bed, and I wake up to kind of a rustling noise in the middle of the night, and then Stacy comes running into the bedroom, going, John. This is like 2 o'clock in the morning, and she's like, I'm pregnant. And we both looked at each other like,
Yeah.
we've been asking for this, but now what? And I don't know if it was the same experience with you when you go like, okay, well now I have
Yeah.
this information, but now what?
Seriously.
You're finding yourself in a situation that you've never been in before. Anyway,
Yeah.
fast forward to answer your question. By the time Dahlia was born, I was, very excited, and we had done all the ultrasounds and all the doctor's visits, and we knew everything we could know about her except her. And so then she was born, and we brought her home, and the adventure started. And I think it's been fun to see her go from infant where, in the infant world, as much as I think I'm a pretty involved dad, um, Stacy was breastfeeding, so there was so much that she was able to do that
Yeah.
in that way that I, couldn't. So
Mhm.
I was there, like, standing by, like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Diapers, this, that, and the other thing. And in the beginning, she's so reliant on her mom,
Yeah.
that you just kind of help where you can, and over time, she's become like my little pal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we have very much our own different relationship,
Mhm.
than she has with her mom.
Yeah. Because from what I understand, Stacy's mom was with you guys for the first few months of Dahlia's life, and then after that, you are basically on afternoon duty with Dahlia. Like I come in the mornings and I
Yeah.
help out, but after her nap, you have her with you. So
Sure. So Stacy's mom was here for about 2 weeks.
okay.
My mom was here then for maybe 10 days or so.
Hmm.
Um, and it was probably about the time that Dahlia was a month old.
Hmm.
From that point on, it was just us and
Yeah.
figuring it out. You know.
Has that been a challenge for you, having to figure things out without having that support system as close by as maybe you would have wanted?
I think it's all we know.
Yeah.
My brother and my sister have kids. My sister's 4 years older than me. My brother's 6 years older than me, but they had kids much younger than I did, and so their kids
Yeah.
are like grown.
Yeah.
And so there hasn't been like a baby in our family in a long time, and so turning to the grandparents for childcare and stuff like that is not something that's like we're not missing it because we haven't had it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it would be a completely different thing if we had our family close to us, but alas, they're not.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's been my experience too. And it's something that I'm still sort of reckoning with because I always have wanted to have like that kind of network closer. But I think being able to have people in your life, like myself or like you and Stacy are for me, I think that makes a world of difference.
Well, and I think, and I hope that if you were in a situation where there was an emergency or something and you're like, you needed to tend to something, that we would happily take Ezra. And I think that if we were in a situation like that, we would comfortably call you and go, Destiny,
Yeah,
you're the person, other than us that we really trust her with. There's been instances where, you weren't available, or maybe we didn't want to put you out, where we've had, random babysitter here and there
yeah,
over the past 2 years. But and that's gone fine. But
yeah.
it's a completely different situation than when they're with somebody that they know.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's also kind of been something that I've dealt with too, like having to learn how to like let other people into our lives and be able to trust them. So, when it comes to you and Dahlia, how do you navigate being able to balance letting her be independent, but also balancing her safety and security? I mean, especially as a girl dad.
That's really hard for me. I will be the first to tell you that I'm a little overprotective, a little bit of a helicopter parent, much more so than Stacy. Um, Stacy, kind of pokes fun at me and is like, you got to let her fall from time to time, uh, and I do. But it's hard, she's the absolute most important part of my life,
Yeah.
and so there's great, you know, I think one of the things with having kids is the reward is so great, but the risk is so high.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because it's something that you've created something, and I know it's so cliche that parents talk about, but you've created something that you love on a level that you've never understood before,
Mhm.
and that also you've put yourself at risk if ever you lose this thing that you love so much. It's that much more crushing than anything else.
Yeah.
If anything were to happen to her, that's not like going through a breakup.
No.
You know,
No.
it's like the most tragic.
This is your
Yeah,
lineage, you
yeah,
know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I have learned to be a little bit more, carefree, and
Mhm.
uh, I, sometimes you got to let her, like, you see something, you're like, this is not going to end well, and then it doesn't. But also, you as a parent learn, and I have learned that they are pretty resilient. And I'll give
Yeah,
you
they
a
are.
quick example.
Mhm.
She loves going into our bedroom and plopping down on the floor and throwing her head back on the ground
Oh
and just
yeah,
like,
just like
and of course, one day there's a little office chair in there, and of course, one day she hit the one of the little
Oh no.
legs on the chair.
Yeah.
She got upset, but now she goes in there and she looks to see where it is, and then she throws her
It's
head
a
back.
learning experience.
And
Yeah.
so, but there's so many things like that that like you have to allow them to bump their head on the chair
Yeah.
and learn that they need to now look out for the chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so while it's hard, you have to have there's a balance. You got to keep them safe, but you also have to let them learn lessons.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's something that we all struggle with,
Mhm.
you know, and it's been kind of refreshing watching you and Stacy evolve as parents. I remember when she was a tiny newborn baby and we were just so careful, and now she is a wild toddler. She's all over the place, and it's just
She's rambunctious.
it's a joy.
Hmm.
It's a joy, and it's also chaotic, you know.
Yeah, it is chaotic, but it's a lot of fun too.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. But I do have a question because you know parenthood is not easy. So have things changed at all with you and your partner over the course of becoming parents? How have things been from before versus now as parents?
Um, you know what's so funny is I don't think things in my mind things have not changed much. I think that our relationship has matured. I think that we each have a newfound respect for each other. But you know, lucky that the mother of my child is like the smartest person on the planet with like
Mhm.
incredible instincts.
Mhm.
She's a psychologist, but also she's an incredible mom, and she like for her all I think all of parenthood just comes instinctually.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I could see that.
and so watching her become a mom has been an incredible thing. But I don't think it's really changed our relationship. Like, um, we to brag on our relationship, we're really good, effective communicators.
I could see that.
And even from the now she's a
It's
therapist, so
built
that
into your
helps. Yeah.
jobs. Yeah.
But since the beginning of our relationship, we never really fought much because we said, okay, well, here's how I'm feeling. This is what you said. This is how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And so we've always been good on that level. And I think adding the child part of it, which can come with frustrations.
Mhm.
Um, there's something, and as stupid as this sounds, it's like something that we saw from like an Instagram reel, and that was these two parents that were like they remind each other that they're on the same team.
Yeah.
And
That's huge.
because sometimes there can be really frustrating, overstimulating moments that you're having with a kid. And it's, I think, good. And we do a good job remembering like, we're not at odds with each other.
Yeah.
We're at odds with this child.
Yeah.
We're not
Absolutely.
really at odds
I
with the
mean,
child,
sometimes they are.
but
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes it feels
Yeah.
that way. And so it's, I think, important to remember that like we have the same goal.
Yeah.
And so we just have to work together to pick up the pieces. But I think it's also important, truly important for dads to not let the mom absorb all of it.
Yeah.
And so you do have to take an active effort to go like, hey, do you want me to try to get her down for nap?
Yeah.
A lot of times during the week, you get her down for her daytime nap, but on the
Mhm.
weekends, I get her down for a nap.
Yeah.
Where usually Stacy gets her down for bedtime at night. You know what I mean? But it's also important, as a dad, for you to go, hey, I got this diaper. I know that you've been
Yeah.
doing this and this and this. Let me handle the diaper. You know what? You seem like you need a quick break. Why don't I take her to the park?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that speaks volumes for us moms, I'll
Yeah.
say. That
And
is very needed.
and we I think do a good job giving each other space,
Yeah.
like go run on a Saturday and handle the things that you need to do, run
Oh.
errands and stuff, go do that. And I'm like, for her, if she wants to go to brunch with her friend, I'm like, go do that, have a blast.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times we just
Oh.
all do it together as a family too.
Yeah.
So
That's so important though. And I feel like Dahlia is in the best of hands ever to be able to have two parents that are able to navigate something that can be so challenging, be able to do
yeah.
it so efficiently. Like
Well, and to, I don't want to make it sound like we've just got it all figured out, because
no.
uh, I also am aware that we only have one kid right now, and that we're,
Yeah.
in a very fortunate situation where, we've got the two of us and we've got our one kid, and then, who knows what things look like when you have two.
Mhm. Yeah, I've sat for families who have two kids, and when I tell you that dynamic sometimes changes where you guys do have to split off and
Yeah,
divide and conquer. So,
yeah.
but I think right now with you and Dahlia and Stacy together and being able to have that as a family of three, yeah,
It's pretty
it's a
manageable.
good foundation to start.
All right.
So we got time for two more questions. I'm wondering, this has been my experience, but I know I'm a little bit of a younger parent. But was there a gap at all between what you imagined fatherhood would be like for you versus what it actually is like?
You know, one thing I will say about being a parent is it's a lot more constant than you
Yeah,
imagine it to be. Um, and no offense to the dog moms and the dog dads, but that's a different
it's not the
thing,
same.
you know.
Yeah.
When you know, in the evening when you're like watching TV, you don't just sit and watch TV. You're
Hmm.
watching TV and also keeping an eye out for
Yeah.
your child who naturally their experience is to want to explore the world and get into things. And so like it I think that my answer to that would be that it's a lot like you're always on as a parent. Like you're always
Yeah.
keeping an eye out, keeping an ear out, and making sure that they don't just like burn the whole house down.
Because they will if you
Yeah.
let them. Yeah.
I think that, emotionally, I think it's somewhat met my expectations, but in terms of like always having to like be on and paying attention, that's the thing I think that I was
Yeah.
not prepared for.
That's what I would say. I was a little bit naive about coming into this whole relationship as a mom and like their
Yeah.
child. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to kind of schedule that downtime,
Yeah, you
and
do.
you
Yeah, and
do.
you got to prioritize that.
Yeah, so it can be a challenge sometimes. So to wrap things up, I'm curious about how it is raising a girl specifically. So has being Dahlia's dad at all changed your relationship to your own masculinity or your idea of gentleness?
So I would say no. I don't consider myself like a manly man or like overly masculine. I will say that one thing that was a bit surprising to me is when we found out the sex of the baby that she was going to be a girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sharing with people that like, oh, I'm going to have a daughter. People would say, oh, are you excited about that? And
Mm.
I'd be like, yeah. And it would come with this like, are you like almost like are you disappointed that you're having a
Yeah.
girl? And I think there's this expectation that guys like I need to have a son so that I can carry on the family
Yeah.
name and that whole thing. Um, I didn't have any. I truly didn't have any preference whether or not we were going to have a boy or a girl, and I was
Yeah.
so excited to find out that we were going to have a girl. I think what maybe has changed, and I think that this is something for all guys to really pay attention to, is consider how you treat girls and women when you're young. Um, and I don't think I'm a villain. I don't think I ever treated anybody poorly, but there is a difference when you think like I have a daughter and I know how sometimes people treat women.
Mhm.
And it does make you go like, wow, like every girl, every woman out there is someone's child.
Yeah.
And I think that in the world of men, and I mean, you know how like guys are and can be.
I
Um,
do, unfortunately.
if you don't understand how important that child is to somebody, and I guess the same with sons too.
Mhm.
Um, it, it, it I think it's worth investing, at least taking into consideration how important that child is to somebody. And for
Yeah.
that matter, I think a lot of times when people become parents in general, you become a little bit nicer to the world because you are aware that
Yeah.
like that's somebody who not long ago was just a child himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is somebody else's child.
Yeah. I can wholeheartedly agree with that
Yeah.
sentiment. You do see the world a lot differently as a parent, and I think it kind of leads me to just have a little bit more understanding for people.
Right.
Just because, like you say, that is someone's child. And some people get older, they never grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To clarify, I guess what I'm saying is I think back to when I was in my 20s and like dating and on Tinder, and I'm like, nope, nope,
Yeah.
sure, nope. And it's like that you're swiping on is someone's child,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess that would be my thought. Is it's reframed some of like that side of my brain. That's like, when it comes to like masculinity and
Yeah.
having a daughter.
No, that's really refreshing because I think a lot of people, kind of like how you say, as people were telling you when you found out you were having a girl, there's almost kind of that air of disappointment when the baby is not the same sex as you. Like I kind
Right.
of got that as a boy mom myself, and
Like people are like, "Oh, are you sad that you're not having a daughter?"
yeah,
And
and I'm like, I'm just happy the baby is healthy, but I definitely agree that, especially like, seeing it through the eyes of like raising a boy and, eventually he'll grow up and maybe be a dad one day. There definitely needs to be more room for boys and men to be able to have those systems of support, whether it's emotional or all of the sorts of systems that women have too.
I will say that having a strong mother figure for boys is key.
Mm-hmm.
The person who taught me how to be a gentleman to women is my mom.
Yeah, your mom is a saint.
Like,
Yeah.
it was not my dad. Like, my
Mm-hmm.
mom taught me about you know opening doors and pulling out chairs and like kindness. And I think that one of the best things that I got from my mom that I can kind of pass on to my daughter is just general optimism and positivity. And so we don't look at rainy days as like a horrible thing. We go, look at that, this is cool, the sky is
That's
rainy, you know what I
amazing.
mean? And so I hope that answers your question. I know I went a little bit further, but
No, I really appreciate you taking it there because that's something that you get to leave on as a legacy for Dahlia.
yeah.
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 Dahlia, do you want to come
Speaking
say
of,
hi? Come here.
she's got Goofy.
She's got Goofy. Come here. Here
There
we
she
go.
is.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Hi. Hiya.
Can you say hi?
We just celebrated Christmas over here. So she has her little Goofy guy. And we want to thank you guys for taking the time to hear us have a conversation.
Absolutely. And thank you to Bluey for taking care of Dahlia while we were having a conversation.
Definitely not sponsored by Bluey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not presented by Bluey.
Yeah, no. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we say bye?
Bye.